Welcome to Outlaw Woodworking. Recently I made this Indian motorcycle sign, and I got so many views in like 24-hour period, and they all liked it. I was really shocked. So because I usually don't get that many views. I mean, it's a small YouTube channel, but although please subscribe, it really helps out. Anyway, yeah, I made this sign and it got such a big response that I decided to make this oval one, and I actually really like this one. The painting of the letters is a little bit hard, but yeah, it came out really nice, I think. Anyway, yeah, let me show you how I made it, and let's get started. The first thing I do is take some of this scrap wood and run it through my grizzly joiner. And I run it through about 4 times on each board, and then I glue it together. I'm using a new glue applicator that's working pretty good. Right here I'm using cawls, which keep the material flat when you clamp it up. At least that's what I call them. And I use about 5 clamps to clamp this thing up. The next day I put it on my machine, and right here I'm using Rockler hold down T-check clamps, and they work pretty good. I'm going to surface this material, and I'm using a 6210 white side spoil cutter blade, and I'll show a picture right here. Right here I do the XYZ, and then I run the program. I always check the first couple passes just to make sure it's running really nice and flush. And it has been real successful so far. It's a 1-inch diameter spoil board cutter, and yeah, it works pretty good. Okay, the first thing we do, now that we have our scrap material surfaced, we're going to go ahead and do the tool path. And I've got all my material dimensions. I always like to check these. 1.375, yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, so we'll cancel that. So now we'll go over to our tool path. We're going to do a simple V-carve of the letters, and then we're going to do a fluting tool path with this outside line. And let me show you how we're going to do it. We'll go over to the tool paths. I've got them all already done here. So the first one was a V-carve, and let's click on that. So now what I did was to make the letters, sometimes when you have these small letters and they're not deep enough. So what I did was I put a start depth of 0.05, and that made it cut a little bit deeper. And we're using the VBit 1502. I'll show you a picture right here. And calculate. And let's reset the preview and then preview visible. So this is our V-carve. That looks really good, actually. The next thing we're going to do, we'll go ahead and leave that one. We're going to do a fluting tool path. Now this one's going to be a 1/4 inch deep. We're going to use a 1404 ball nose bit, and that will go around the whole project. So let's go ahead and preview that. I'm going to highlight that and preview. So this cuts just a little round slot around it. And my idea was that I would paint the letters all white. I would paint the main body of the sign red. And then this little fluting tool path, I would paint kind of a flat black or gunmetal black, gunmetal gray or something. So that looks good. The next thing we're going to do is do this profiling tool path. We're going to use a upcut bit, RU2075, and we're going to do 4 passes. I don't like to go more than a 1/4 inch deep, but on each pass. So we're going to cut this 1.125, and then we'll cut the rest out on the bandsaw. And we'll go ahead and view that. Preview visible toolpath. And there it is. And that cut almost all the way through. You can see it left a little bit right there, but that's a safe amount that I don't have to worry about it cutting through to my spoil board. Okay, I'll meet you over at the machine and we'll get started. The first thing I do is I install a 1502 white side V-carve bit, and I'll show you a picture of it right here. I do a homing sequence, and then I XYZ the bit. First the homing sequence, then the XYZ. Now this is going to be quick because the majority of this is going to be V-carve. Actually, there's 3 bits involved. Right here we do the V-carve. I saw one of these oval signs one time and I really liked it, so I hope this turns out. And right there you can see it's doing all the V-carved letters. Now when I set the depth for that, I put it at 0.05 starting depth. That way it would cut the letters a little, the smaller letters a little deeper. And that seems to work pretty good. This is 8 times the speed. And I'll try to put a stop clock on here to see how long this takes to make this sign. Do a little cleanup. And the V-carve is done. So that didn't take very long. Next up, I changed to a bowl bit. Actually, it's not a bowl bit. It's just it's the same bit that I use for the juice catcher on the cutting boards. And what I'm going to do is cut a slot around this thing so that I can do a little paint trim inside of there. So that's the slot, that's the bowl bit, and that's a white side number 1404. I'll leave a picture right here. The next bit I'm going to use is a RU2075 from Whiteside. It's an upcut bit, spiral bit, and I do the XYZ. And this is going to cut the sign out. And I actually cut it almost all the way through. I left about a 1/4 inch. I didn't want to damage my spoil board. And there it goes. I edited the passes on this to make 4 passes, so it wouldn't be too hard on the bit. Cuts about a 1/4 inch at a time. And that's it. Then I take it over to the bandsaw and I cut it out. I don't know why my GoPro's all fuzzy right there. Usually it's a really good picture. Once I get it cut out, I hook up the dust collection on my JESM router lift and I run this thing through the flush bit and flush it all out. I then get a little small porter cable router and do a little 1/4 round around the whole thing, top and bottom. Do a little more cleanup. Next up was painting. And since I still am not any good with the aura mask, I have to hand paint this thing. And I do all the letters white. Painting the letters is, I really need to figure out how to do the aura mask, because doing it this way is a really hard way to do it. It takes a long time to get it looking really good. Next up, I paint the little slot that I made with a kind of a gunmetal gray paint, and that was going to kind of trim it out. Once that dries, I paint the whole sign red, and I used a roller, and that worked pretty good. I then went and detailed out all the letters where the red kind of bled down a little bit. And that was painstaking. Thanks for watching this episode of Outlaw Woodworking. I really enjoy I enjoyed the Indian motorcycle sign, but I am going to try to perfect the aura mask. I have been unsuccessful with the aura mask, and the aura mask would make it a lot easier to paint these letters. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe, like the video, and I will see you next time. Later.